Hilary Swank, welcome to Q.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm great.
It's
Other
nice-
than being a little bit tired, I'm great.
Oh my God, aren't we all though?
Yeah, exactly.
The film festival
Everyone's
thing is
tired.
exhausting. It really is.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people are tired. Just when you're working hard and doing things that you love, it lends to that, and that's good.
Well, that's good. I want to talk a little bit about your process today.
Okay.
So I read this thing about you. I want to talk about what they had. I heard that when you do a very simple thing with scripts to help you focus on the character that you're playing. Is that right? You write something on the page.
Well, it's not very simple, actually. It's really complex because it's my character analysis and breakdown. So it's like a type of Bible.
I thought it was like one line per page.
No, okay, I know what you're confusing. I got it. So you're thank you for doing that type of research. But no, what I do is the script is I break it down into one sentence. The story. What the story's about into one sentence. And you're gonna ask me what was this one about, but it was a year and a half ago. So I'm not gonna get the exact sentence. But what it is I take the essence of the story and in one sentence I say what is the story about, and that is on the front of my script. But then the inside is really, you can barely see the lines.
Why do you do that one line? Why do you need to crystallize it like that?
Because I feel like that is the essence of the story, and that everything should lead back to that essence. And if it doesn't, it usually doesn't make the movie.
Do you remember an example you can give me? I know I was going to ask you about what you wrote for this film, but if you don't remember, that's fine. Do you remember?
I think like if we go back to maybe Boys Don't Cry, I feel like that is a movie that transcended gender, and it was about love. So it was, it was about something bigger that we can all relate to, because everyone wants to give love or be loved, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody. That's the one common thread through, no matter what race or gender or what your creed is. That's the one through line. So I think everything had to go back to that from a scene into the, that's kind of a good example.
But what they had is a story that seems like it's about. Well, I should be clear. It's about an older woman with Alzheimer's. Your mom in the film. You're coming down. You're trying to talk the father and the mother. You're trying to talk the father into letting you put the mother into a care home, and the father go into a facility as well. But I also feel like that film's just about love too. Exactly.
I would say probably every film is about love. Right. And I think that's the core of a lot of movies. But I think, and the movie really encapsulates a lot of different things, and definitely dementia is part of it, and dementia and the idea of who are you without your memory? Who are you? Yeah. What are you without that? But I think it also encapsulates the idea of dysfunction within a family and love within that dysfunction, which everyone can relate to. And it also deals with coming of age, no matter how old you are. I think Robert Forster's character is coming of age because he is, in his own way at that point, trying to understand what his life is like without his wife as he knows her.
Right. And
my character is 40, and she's realizing that she's lived a bit of a lie because she's in a relationship pretending that it works for her. Mm-hmm. And it's about being seen too. Being seen for who you are, and there's a lot of different onion layers to that.
Hilary, I think it's, I think when people listen to our interviews so far, they might think it can be an earnest or didactic film. I didn't find that at all. So what really struck me about the film is how complicated it is, and I want to play a scene that I think exemplifies that. So this is when your brother in the film, played by Michael Shannon, tells you that your mother hit on him. Take a listen to this.
Yeah, she put her hand on my knee, and she was looking at me like she hit on me.
What'd you do?
I just kept calling her Mom. I said, "Thanks, Mom. It's nice to see you too, Mom. I'm really glad you birthed me, Mom." You're laughing. Don't laugh.
I'm sorry.
This is a situation that a lot of families find themselves in. Yeah. A parent getting older, having to go from being taken care of to being the caregiver for your parent. And again, you'd be forgiven for thinking this was a very didactic, earnest film, but there's kind of funny moments like that.
I think that in situations like this, you have to find levity. And I think Elizabeth Chomko, the writer-director, did a great job at doing that. And without that, you kind of combust. I mean, I went through taking care of my dad who got a lung transplant, and I took 3 years off my working to be his sole caretaker, and you had to find levity. There were moments that no one looking in would maybe find funny, but you either you break down and cry or you laugh. And so there are, I think, a lot of moments in the movie that are unexpected where there is laughter.
How's your dad?
Good, thanks.
He's doing all right?
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah, thank you.
I was wondering about that when I saw the news. But I can't. I mean, of course, that happens to all of us, and it really does change the relationship dynamic. This is someone who helped pick out clothes for you, helped put your clothes on when you were a kid.
I know.
And all of a sudden, you're looking after them.
Yeah, and you hear it time and time again, and it's part of life. It's what happens. It's like you're born and someone's taking care of you, and then you go through taking care of yourself, and then you start taking care of others, and then you're taking care of your parents. It's life.
So this must have been crossing your mind a lot when you were making this film.
Yeah, it was. It was a pretty great movie to step into after being a caretaker and being in that kind of position of how do you caretake and how do you take care of yourself through being a caretaker, and where do you find support, and how do you find support, and how do you get through your day?
Yeah. If you're just tuning in, I'm speaking with Hilary Swank, two-time Oscar-winning actor Hilary Swank.
Crazy.
I think. Oh yeah. Does this still sound crazy to hear?
Yeah.
It has to.
It is.
It can't be something you get used to.
No, for sure not.
We're talking about her latest film. It's like, they're talking about me. Her latest film is called What They Had. And speaking of, actually, let's take a listen to this.
I want to thank Brandon Tina for being such an inspiration to us all. His legacy lives on through our movie to remind us to always be ourselves, to follow our hearts, to not conform. I pray for the day when we not only accept our differences, but we actually celebrate our diversity. Thank you very much.
So that is you winning an Oscar. It's your acceptance speech in 2000 for your role in Boys Don't Cry.
Yeah.
How's it feel to hear it?
Well, it's crazy to think that now here we are, how many years later, 18 years later, and we're still saying the same thing, and we're still really working on that same issue of inclusiveness and equality. And I think we've come further, but it's still crazy to think that people are still, not allowed to live the way they see themselves or their lives because of the way that they choose, which gender they choose to be, or if they choose the same person, same sex to love. You know, feels like a long time ago. It feels like we should have come further. I'm glad we've come along, but I feel like we still have a long way to go.
So how do you react to the whole Scarlett Johansson thing? How do you react to Scarlett Johansson coming under fire for taking a role playing a trans person? I mean, these issues are in our society right now. I often hear people reference Boys Don't Cry. They talk about it. I mean, this must give you pause.
I feel like I understand, and being a part of a film that started the conversation in a kind of real way. I get it. I feel like all types of people should have the opportunity to tell a story, and especially their story. I do think, I wasn't known. I wasn't well known when a lot of people were like, oh, if you're famous, more people see the movie. And that's not necessarily true. I wasn't famous, and Boys Don't Cry got seen, and it won an Academy Award. So I think that everyone should get an opportunity to audition, and I think whoever's right for the role should get it. And it doesn't mean that.
So when you hear the controversy happen, you don't necessarily think, hey, you need to be a trans person to play a trans person. You need to be a gay person to play a gay person.
Right. I don't think that.
Yeah.
And I do think that trans people and gay people and questioning people need the opportunity to work and audition. And I think that there are lack of those opportunities, and that's not fair.
You know, over the course of your career, you played a single mom, a transgender teen, a waitress turned boxer, a daughter of a woman with dementia. And we've talked a little bit about staying true to the characters and how that is to you and how you write down, you kind of take the essence of the film and boil it down to a sentence. I feel like you take a real responsibility when you take on a role. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, I do, especially when it's a true story. It's really, really a big responsibility to take on a true story. And I think it's, it's someone's life. And I don't take that lightly. I really feel that that's something that you need to do justice to. And it's different than playing a fictional role, because you have liberty and you have license to play around and change it up, and you don't really in a true story.
It's nice to talk to you this far out of that, because there's another part of that Oscar speech that we didn't play where you look up at your mom in the crowd and you say, it looks like living out of our car was worth it. And you told that story before. You were 15, you and your mom drove to LA. It's like $75 in the bank account. Is that right?
Yeah. You know what's funny is that I looked up and I said, Mom, wherever you are up there, and people thought my mom was dead.
Ah, yeah, I understand.
But I couldn't get an extra ticket sitting next to me, so my mom was way up in the nosebleed seats. But my mom is such a powerhouse. She took her shoes off just in case I won so that she could run down.
Run down?
Yeah, run down and be with me. Yeah, so she took her shoes off, and the woman next to her was like, what are you doing? She said, that's my daughter. She was nominated. She could win. If she wins, I have to get down there.
I can't believe you had the clarity of mind to think that way at all. Like, I can only imagine you can't believe it's happening, and you get up on stage, and all of a sudden you have to give a cogent speech that will be analyzed, 10, 20 years later.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I think I was so young I wasn't even thinking about that, but I was feeling the responsibility of saying something that was thoughtful of this person's life.
Do you still reflect on that? Do you still reflect on whether it was worth it?
Whether what was worth it?
Going down when you were 15 years old and living out of your car.
No, I don't ever. That was all worth it. And for me, living out of my car was fun. I was 15 years old. It wasn't harrowing at all. It was for my mom, but for me, it was living my dream or about trying to pursue my dream. So it was exciting.
I can tell you still love acting. I can still
I
can still tell you do. I
love
can
it.
sometimes tell when people come in whether they're going through the cycles a little bit of putting a film together. But I still, you really do love this, huh?
I really love it. I really love it. And what's interesting is taking time off to take care of my dad. It was there was no doubt in my mind that that's what I was going to do, and I didn't know how long it was going to take. And in doing that, there were two things that happened. One, I realized that I'm more than just an actor, because you are what you do.
Yeah.
I mean, people say,
especially in your industry,
But I mean, if you really think about it, if you say, "Oh, tell me about you," the first thing most people say is, "I'm an architect."
Yeah.
They say what they do.
I'm a plumber.
Yeah, and so I say, "Oh, I'm an actor." That's what since I was 15. That's what I have been doing, and so much of who I am is defined within that. And taking time off made me realize that I'm so much more than that. And there was freedom in that somehow. I don't know how to say it.
But do you think that changed the way you acted?
Well, then what also happened on the flip side is it made me fall in love with acting in a whole different way, because I appreciated all the opportunities that it gave me, and to see the world in a different way, to walk in someone else's shoes and expand my ideas of how I walk in the world. Every character I play, from Boys Don't Cry to $1 Million Baby to Conviction to Freedom Riders, these stories of these women, all of them being true other than $1 Million Baby, they are in me now. And I see the world in a richer way because of them. So it's been life enriching. It's been, it's incredible. It's incredible to be an actor. And so I have a deeper appreciation after stepping away for a little while.
It's so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.